Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a masterful piece of satire, The Idler's Diary by the one and only HARISHANKar Parsai. Now, this is a story that is absolutely hilarious, but it uses that humor to ask a really profound question. What actually happens when our best intentions to do good go completely and spectacularly wrong? So our story kicks off with this really strange and kind of noble vow. Our narrator, who's a self-proclaimed idler, he decides his life's purpose isn't going to be about getting rich or famous. No, his mission is to meddle in everyone else's business, but, for their own good. It's an incredible setup for what becomes a journey straight into the absurd. And he has this light bulb moment pretty quickly. He figures, hey, people won't just let you meddle in their lives. You can't just butt in. You have to first offer to help. So, armed with this brilliant insight, he sets off on his grand quest, just desperate to be of service to somebody. Anybody, really. He's not even out the door before he smacks right into a human brick wall of pure cynicism. This guy's name is Kaka. And look, this isn't just some small bump in the road. This one conversation sets up a huge philosophical showdown that makes you question the whole idea of altruism itself. And this is where things get really juicy, because Kaka doesn't just tell our guy he's wrong. Oh no, he lays out a complete alternative philosophy for life, a gospel of self-interest that, let's be honest, sounds disturbingly familiar even today. Kaka's point is as brutal as it is simple. He's basically saying, how can you claim to know what's good for other people if you haven't even figured out what's good for yourself? How can you help the poor if you've never experienced wealth? And to hammer this point home, he uses the perfect example: a local politician. And here it is, Kaka's philosophy in 4 easy steps. When the villagers ask the politician about his promise to rebuild ruined homes, he just calmly explains that the slogan was always about his ruined home first. It's a cynical but brilliant look at how public service so often becomes about private gain. The first rule of helping others: help yourself first. This is just fantastic. Kaka's cynicism is so deep, he even reinterprets this famous sacred prayer. He doesn't see a plea for humility. He sees a savvy, sequenced business plan. See the order? First, take care of the family. Then, take care of yourself. And only then, if there's anything left over, you think about the holy man. For Kaka, that's not being a hypocrite. That's just being smart. All right, so our narrator is a little shaken up after his run-in with Kaka, but he's not defeated yet. He decides he needs a new strategy. He's going to find the single most helpless person he knows, an old, sick, lonely woman named Mousy. Surely she'll be grateful for his help. So he finds Mousy, and she's at the end of her rope. She tells him she's completely exhausted with life and just wishes it would end. And our narrator, in his desperate need to be a helper, what does he hear? He hears an opportunity. But his logic? It takes a very, very dark and absurd turn. And you just have to appreciate the sheer, dark comedy of this moment. This is what he offers. He genuinely asks if she'd like him to strangle her or if she'd prefer poison. It's a shocking but brilliant way to show the giant gap between what a helper thinks they're offering and what a person actually needs. He's so focused on the act of helping, he's totally missed the point. Mousy, as you can imagine, just explodes, and her anger is the absolute key to this whole part of the story. She's not just saying no, she's calling out his real motivation. She's basically yelling, are you doing this for me or are you doing this for you to make yourself feel like a good person? It forces all of us to ask, who is charity really for? Okay, so just as our hero is about to give up completely, it happens. Someone finally takes him up on his offer. It's an official, a guy named Shivshankar, and he's about to get transferred to a job he really doesn't want. He asks our narrator to go plead his case with his boss, the Bade Sahab. Finally, a real mission. And with that, he steps into the belly of the beast, the world of bureaucracy. This is where Parsai's satire just hits another level, as he starts peeling back the layers on a system that seems to have forgotten that real people even exist. He finds the bureaucrat in his garden, and the man just casually drops this absolute bombshell. He confesses that he's so used to a life of corruption that he can't even do something as simple as picking a flower from his own garden without feeling guilty, like he's taking a bribe from himself. The system hasn't just changed his behavior, it has literally rewired his soul. It gets even wilder. The Sahab explains that his facial expressions, his smiles, aren't even his own. They're like government-issued tools. He's got different models for different situations, one for firing someone, another for flattering them. And if a smile goes bad, he just writes it off like spoiled office supplies. It's an incredible metaphor for a world where real human emotion has been replaced by cold, hard procedure. So our guy tries to steer the conversation back on track. He asks a big, important question about how the nation is doing, about progress. You'd expect to hear about the economy, maybe social programs, but the bureaucrat's answer has nothing to do with any of that. For him, the entire concept of national progress is just a list of who got transferred where. The country's fate, in his mind, is just a giant game of musical chairs, played by a handful of officials. The system, it turns out, is only capable of seeing itself. Our narrator tries one last time. He narrows the question way down. He asks, what was the single most important event to happen in the whole country this past year? The answer he gets is the punchline to this entire absurd farce. That's it. The biggest event in the nation, from his point of view, was that a colleague got promoted ahead of him. A small, personal, petty slight. In this bureaucratic bubble, that one little grievance is more important than anything else happening in a country of millions. It's just perfect. So, completely defeated, unable to help the one person who actually asked him to, our narrator goes home. His fool's errand is officially over. But it's right here, in this moment of total failure, that he stumbles upon the story's most profound and, honestly, most unsettling conclusion. Think about it. All through this journey, he's met one cynical, self-serving person after another. There was Kaka, the politician, the bureaucrat. It would be so easy to just write them off as bad people. But Parsai uses this journey to completely flip that idea on its head. And this is the philosophical heart of the whole story. What Parsai is suggesting is that selfishness isn't just a simple character flaw. It's a defense mechanism. These cynics, they aren't the villains we should hate. Maybe they're victims we should pity. Victims of a system where every attempt to do good is met with so much suspicion that people just give up and are forced to turn inward. And that's the knockout punch. That's the question that just hangs in the air long after the story is over. If the systems we build, whether it's social cynicism or bureaucratic apathy, if they corrupt the very act of helping, then what are we left with? What hope is there? It's that question that makes this satire so much more than just a funny story. It makes it a timeless and deeply challenging piece of social commentary that's as relevant today as it ever was.